First, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the panel. What's going on, Cyrus B? What it do? What it do? What it do?
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Right, again, Dr. Duncan, thanks for coming through, for having a conversation with us. Right, I think it's a great opportunity. Right, thanks for taking your time out. Right, I know there's a ton of questions our community has regarding the field of astrophysics. So we've got a lot of good questions, both from us and from the community. So thank you.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you, and I'm very happy to be here.
Brother Kent, Clark Kent, what's good, man? What it do? What it do? What it do?
Going on, man? Man, right here, man. Glad to kick it with y'all one more time. Glad to have Dr. Farrah with us today. Man, it's gonna be interesting, man. And man, I appreciate the opportunity, man.
Absolutely,
Nice to meet
man. Sister Juju, what's good? What's happening? What it do? What it do?
Well, good afternoon, family. Glad to be here. We're really excited about this interview with Dr. Farrah. Thank you for coming, and thank you for allowing us to, investigate and exercise your expertise on astrophysics.
Absolutely.
Brother Anthony, I'm not sure if you can tap in, but what's going on, Space Age African? How you doing, man? What it do? What it do?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How you doing, Dr. Farrah? Is that right? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, you did. It's going good. How are you?
All right. Oh, I'm pretty good, man. Just glad to be here, glad to be on, and glad to be able to tap into your expertise. As the gentleman mentioned earlier, I am the resident amateur astronomer / astrophotographer. So yeah, this is a joy for me. So I'm glad to be here. And thank you for being here.
Oh, yes, it's going to be great.
Okay. Last person. Sister Tiffany, how you feeling today? Glad to have you join.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you, Dr. Farrah, for being with us. Of course.
Yeah, it's great. Hi, Tiffany. Nice to meet you.
Okay. So, Dr. Farrah works at the Department of Physics and Astronomy at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Okay, he's a PhD, and we actually appreciate this conversation, and it's going to be one of those high-level conversations. So this is important for moving the community forward with literacy in science and understanding the cosmos. So with that, I'd probably like to just get straight to it, okay? What exactly, or how did you get interested in science, Doctor?
Okay, but to get to the question, I guess I've always just been interested in why things are, how things work. Why should things be as they are? I was very interested in sort of scientific questions from a very young age. I guess I was kind of just naturally curious. I used to drive my science teachers kind of crazy just because I would keep asking, but why is that so? Why is that so? And I think I annoyed some of them. I didn't have the most kind of traditional background as a scientist. Neither of my parents went to college. Both my parents were quite poor. One of my parents was an immigrant. I grew up in Britain. You can probably tell by my accent, but while I grew up in Britain, my father came from the Middle East and my mother came from Scotland. Neither of them were at all had any college background, and both of them worked very hard, but to them academia was just not really a thing. But in terms of how I went through school, I just always found science class fascinating. And it was all of them. I thought, well, astronomy always fascinated me, but so did things like anthropology, the way that animals all sort of start that again. The idea of evolutionary theory, the way that animals evolved gradually over time. I always found geology fascinating. I remember when I was very young, being shown a picture book, and one of the pictures that was in this book was the Grand Canyon, where you could see all the different layers of rock, and like the book was talking about how it was sort of a history of the earth over millions of years. All these sort of layers of rock had been laid down by different processes, and I always found that completely amazing. And then 20 odd years later, I actually got to go to the Grand Canyon and see it for real, which was just fantastic. But I guess on a deep level, those sorts of questions always kind of, to some extent, made me feel really happy to think about them. It wasn't so much the process of like knowing something, but it was the process of knowing something, the process of discovery, the idea of learning things. I always just really loved that. And then as time progressed and I went through school, I wouldn't say I was like the brightest kid at school. I don't think I was necessarily, I wasn't the top of my class, because I tended to try and kind of think about things slowly. I tended to sort of ponder things and sometimes just go off and daydream about things that I found interesting. And, when you're in class, that's not always like the best strategy, shall we say. But I got through, and in that time, I started to gravitate more towards like physics and astronomy, because to me, those were kind of looking at the more fundamental questions. I mean, I still love things like anthropology and geology. I think they're amazing, but to me, at least, sort of the foundational questions of like what is the universe? What is reality? What are things like stars and black holes? Those to me kind of made me think, well, this is getting at the really sort of basic questions. Basic in the sense of they're at the root of all knowledge, not that they're simple. I mean, they're not simple at all. And so I kind of gravitated towards those as the things that I found most interesting. And so when I finished school, my parents were kind of really happy and at the same time a bit shocked that I wanted to go to university. But I did, and they were happy about that. And I thought, well, physics seems to be the thing to do here, because that lets you get at these really kind of foundational questions. And so I went off to university to do physics, and that, I will admit, that was hard work. But as time progressed, the courses became more challenging, but they also started to address the sort of more, the really foundational type questions. And that was when it really kind of became clear to me, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, I really love this. I love the process of discovery. I like finding things out. And so when I got to the end of my degree, the obvious choice was to sort of stick around and do a PhD, because that just lets you do research. You get to pick well, you don't get to pick it, but you get an unanswered question, and then for a PhD it's all right, here's an unanswered question, you go away, and with the help of others, obviously, you've got to answer it. So I started that, and I thought, this is just fantastic. I love doing this. I mean, there's lots of frustrations, there's like things take a while, and sometimes you're stuck doing something really, really boring for a long time just because you've got to. That's how you get through what you need to get through. But it was more that kind of overall idea of like, okay, I'm working on discovering something that's not yet known, something new. I'm going to add to the body of knowledge that humanity has. That really, I don't know how to put it, but that kind of just put me really in my happy place. And so it really seemed like just the natural thing to do. And that's why I kind of never really stopped. I kind of went on from that.